The origin of credit scores, a 1950s experiment that controls your life. Today, your credit score can decide whether you get a loan, a house, or even a job. But have you ever wondered who invented this system that quietly controls so much of modern life? The story begins in the 1950s, when American banks were struggling to figure out who was trustworthy enough to lend money to. Before credit scores, the process was shockingly unfair. Lenders often judged people based on personal opinions, who they knew, or even factors like race, gender, and neighborhood. Two people with the same income could be treated completely differently just because of bias. That's when engineer Bill Fair and mathematician Earl Isaac teamed up in 1956. They founded a company called Fair. Isaac and Company today, known as FICO. Their radical idea was to replace human judgment with math. Instead of relying on personal bias, they wanted to create a scoring system that measured risk using data. By the late 1950s, they introduced one of the first versions of the credit scoring model. It used payment history, debt levels, and financial behavior to predict how likely someone was to pay back a loan. At first, banks were skeptical. Computers were still new, and the idea of reducing a person's trustworthiness to a number felt strange. But over time, the results spoke for themselves. Credit scores helped lenders reduce risk and make faster decisions. The real turning point came in 1974 with the U.S. Fair Credit Reporting Act, which pushed lenders to adopt more standardized, unbiased methods. By the 1980s, FICO scores became the national standard. Suddenly, every American had a number attached to their financial reputation, usually ranging from 300 to 850. And here's where it gets wild. This system, originally just a small experiment in the 1950s, now influences billions of lives worldwide. Your credit score can affect whether you can rent an apartment, buy a car, start a business, or even land certain jobs. It's not just a number, it's become a gatekeeper to opportunity. Of course, critics argue that credit scores still aren't perfect. They don't always capture the full picture of a person's responsibility, and they can create barriers for those starting fresh. But like it or not, credit scores remain one of the most powerful inventions of the last century, born from a simple experiment to make lending fairer. So, next time you check your score, remember you're looking at a piece of 1950s math that ended up shaping the modern economy.